are gonna get better now. But you're still a drunken slob. Things are gonna get better now.
Oh, they did.
You wish you
And
still lived
earlier today,
with mom.
yeah, getting right after it. It's hump day, and as you know, because I know you pay attention, overrated versus underrated. I want to do something a little bit different. And being the fact that it is release week, 2 days, Friday, the blood of gods, I am so fucking amped, and you already know that. Being the mediocre garage guitarist that I am, I wanted to focus on my favorite instrument. So, the trio of ballsack, pustulus, and flatus. Alright. Mike Dirks, pustulus, of course, Brett Purgeson, and his cousin Flatus Maximus, Corey Smoot. They are underrated. And I'll explain why. Overrated, and I'm going to make this very clear after I tell you, obviously Jeff-Hanneman, Kerry-King, Gary Holt for Slayer. Slayer is still a legendary band, and Jeff-Hanneman and Gary Holt especially, two guitars and guys that I really like. And Jeff-Hanneman, rest in peace. Kerry-King, I don't. I think he's a fucking dick. And I think he'll tell you he's a fucking dick. I can't stand him in his interviews. And part of it is that he was a prick to Oderus, my dad. So when you're a prick to my dad, fuck you. And I just hate the way he strokes his own cock so much. I really do. With that being said, he's still a talented musician. And I will give him credit for that. But that doesn't mean I have to like him, right? And I'm not going to. So with Slayer, let's start with the debut, 1983, No Mercy. Just raw, heavy. Now I read in a couple articles online where they're talking about kind of the hardcore punk infused into some of their earlier music, especially with Jeff-Hanneman being such a big fan of that genre. I don't hear it as much as other people do. I understand, especially with the way their early albums were produced. I can understand why that's connected with it. I just don't see it as much as other people, but I'm not saying they're wrong either. But Rain and Blood, that's where it started. That's when everybody went, holy fuck, who the fuck is this crazy band called Slayer? And I remember the first album that I ever heard was Hell Awaits, 1985. I just heard like a 20-second part on a cassette that somebody had, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And extreme metal back then, that was Slayer. No doubt about it. And I know a lot of people would be like, really? That's like PG now. And I get it. Extreme metal is a whole different fucking ball game now. But at that time, 1985, I was like, holy shit, these fuckers scare me. 14 years old. Didn't take much to scare me at the time. But, and I agree with everybody, though, it's Rain and Blood. That's the album that really took your neck and basically took a small knife and stabbed you in the fucking neck. It was that album. 1986, Angel of Death. Tom Araya. Wah! Remember that? And then we get into Auschwitz, The Meaning of Pain, and just crazy ass scales, Hanneman and King flying down the neck, and the whole white supremacist shit Yeah, they sung about it, and these bands just constantly get connected to that shit, and there is some of that. I get that. There's some extreme metal bands that are fucking idiots and white supremacists, but just because certain bands sing about Hitler and Auschwitz and all that shit doesn't necessarily mean they're racist. Okay, that's not what we're talking about right now. I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, what thrash? There you go. Maybe that was the album that you could say is the godfather of thrash albums. South of Heaven came out in 1988. To me, that is that's as a fan, that's my favorite album. I know a lot of hardcore fans. It's kind of slower. It's not as fast, but you know, on and on South of Heaven, but I love that guitar riff. That main guitar riff is badass, and I love Mandatory Suicide. Yeah. Ooh, look, I was getting chicken skin, Penelope. Where you going? Oh, whatever. I'll meet somebody else on Craigslist. Anyway, I really like the Stand Up. Those are my two favorite tracks on the album. I like the whole album. I love Seasons in the Abyss. You know, those three in a row to me, I think it's their best of their entire career. Seasons in the Abyss, War Ensemble. By the way, if you haven't heard the cover from Big Wig, and it's on Punk Goes Metal, you will be shocked. They absolutely fucking kill it on that song. It's a cover. When I first heard it, I was in fucking shock. I had no idea that they could play that song. It's so fucking good. Unbelievable. Anyway, Dead Skin Mask, love that one. You know, Seasons in the Abyss, the video. It's a great album. And me personally, I like Divine Intervention. Alright? Killing Fields, Sex, Murder, and Art. And I know the mixing and the production isn't the best on there, and even Kerry-King has bitched about it. I like it. I do. To me, it's like an ode to the old days, you know, in the early 80s when they started. To me. You know, I know there's probably hardcore Slayer fans that totally disagree with me. That's just my opinion. Now, the one album, to me, that's a fucking joke is Diabolus in Musica. I don't give a fuck what they say. C tuning, Slayer. It wasn't the drop D tuning like nu metal, but that they were absolutely going for the nu metal sound on that. And the only reason I'm kind of calling them out on it, and I'm not saying it was Tom Araya. I like Tom Araya. I think he's cooler than shit. I like all of his interviews. He's probably my favorite guy. I like Dave Lombardo. I don't know what happened with all that shit. Feels like he was ripped off as a drummer. I think he's the best ever. But Kerry-King was calling out Metallica for the, load and selling out and alternative and shit. Don't act like you didn't do the same fucking thing on this album. I think it sucked. It does. C tuning for Slayer, really. I'm not gonna go on and on about it, but I'm sorry. Sucked. And then I did write down Repentless 2015. I get it. Not their best. Jeff-Hanneman replaced by Gary Holt. I am a Gary Holt fan because I like Exodus. I do. And I think he's a hell of a guitarist, and he's cooler than shit in his interviews. I thought it was so... I kind of liked it. Fuck this, fuck Slayer. And it's like, okay... and I'm not even a huge Slayer fan. But to put that album out in 2015, right? A band going on 30 years here, over 30 years, that's a pretty good album. It really is. I think I know it could have been a lot worse. That's just my opinion. The thing with Slayer, and I've even said this, a lot of the albums feel like they've recorded the same album over and over, right? To me, that's why I like South of Heaven. It was a little different than what we had heard. It wasn't balls to the wall 100 miles an hour. They did slow it down. And, dare I say, the word melody, you're never going to confuse anybody, right? Or you will confuse people. This is actually what I want to say. If you use the word melody when you're describing Slayer, we know that's not part of what they do. Never has been. But I think South of Heaven did incorporate a little bit of that. And Season the Abyss, holy shit. What a great fucking album. It really is. War Ensemble, Balls to the Wall, the title track, heavy but slowed down a little bit, but still got that heavy Slayer distortion. And when it comes to Slayer, especially with Rain and Blood, they were the first band to me that just fucking went for it, went balls to the wall. All right, I know Master of Puppets, and I love And Justice for All from Metallica. Master of Puppets did come out in '86 too. Either way, it doesn't matter. Rain and Blood was that thrash album, just fast, aggressive, fucking brutal, and they deserve credit for that, right? Heavy, fast, punishing. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to throw the word melody in there. But the thing is, over time, when you look at their entire work, they are a little bit overrated. You could even argue the fact that Megadeth has a more solid discography than Slayer. I want to remind you this. When I'm using the word overrated, I'm not saying they suck. I am not saying that at all. It's a legendary band. They're one of the best bands ever. Regardless of what anyone thinks, they have created their own unique sound and brand. I mean, you hear the word Slayer, you immediately think Tom Ray, Kerry-King, and all. And for a lot of people, the devil, But how many memorable songs do they have that you're just like, yeah, fucking Slayer? And I get it. It's when it comes to Slayer, it's not about, hey, we have a bunch of great songs that people want to listen to over and over. It's about cranking that fucking guitar going 1,000 miles an hour. And they are great musicians. Jeff-Hanneman, Kerry-King, Gary Holt. Yeah, I fucking hate Kerry-King, but he's still a good guitarist. But I feel like it's the same thing over and over sometimes. That's where the overrated comes in. Now, talking about my boys. That's right. Gwar. I just had to say it like that. I know it kind of fucking sounds stupid. Oh, you came back, Penelope, huh? No, I want you to sit outside. I'm trying to do a podcast. Who we talking about? We're talking about Ballsack, The Jaws of Death, Mike Dirks, Brett Purgeson, Pustulus Maximus, and Corey Smoot, Flatus Maximus, just like Jeff-Hanneman. Rest in peace. The first two albums I want to start with, Ballsack is the only one that played on these albums. But Scumdogs of the Universe and America Must Be Destroyed, amazing albums. And the thing with Gwar, and you've heard me say this time and time again, you never know what you're going to get on a Gwar album. Every album is unique. Not easy to do that, too. Now, Carnival of Chaos, Ragnarok, and We Kill Everything kind of started each album. Kind of felt like it was getting more punk, and the guitars weren't as heavy. And I reviewed We Kill Everything on Monday, revisited it, and it's not as bad as a lot of fans think it is. I still think it's worth listening to. It's not a great album, and they'll be the first ones to admit that. I know Odorous did like it, and I said this before too. The instrumental, the short history of the end of the world, that's the only song they play live off that album. That says a lot right there. But such a dynamic band, and I know a huge part of Gwar is the image, the crazy stage shows, blood and guts, shooting jizz out in the crowd. I know that. That's gonna make people forget, though, about them as musicians, and they are so good. And Ballsack, he's just always been there, just pushing out these great fucking riffs. And the new one, The Blood of Gods, and I've seen a few Gwar fans are already bitching. What's going on? This fucking sucks. In fact, the last song that I heard, and I can't remember the name of it, the guy was like, "Oh, Gwar sounds like fucking Keel." This is what Gwar does, and that's the beauty of it. And every album is different. And listen, I love the thrash when they brought the thrash back on The Violence Has Arrived. But War Party, first album that Corey Smoot played on, that's when Gwar really came back. Now, Beyond Hell, Bloody Pit of Horror. Holy shit. And I think I love Beyond Hell more than most people do. What an unbelievable fucking album. The story of Gwar going to hell to kick Satan's ass. But the riffs on there are so fucking crushing. And I love the production on that album. Devin Townsend is the guy that was the producer on that album. And I'm telling you, I think it's their best sounding record. Odorous, front and center. And those guitars are just fucking punishing. Ballsack thrashing out, and you got Corey Smoot going up and down the neck playing awesome solos. I just love that fucking album. I do. Bloody Pit of Horror. And Corey Smoot wrote most of the music, I think, on that album. And they were tuned to like F sharp. And just kind of continuing. He started on War Party, and then Gwar just getting heavier and heavier on each album. And I know Bloody Pit of Horror didn't get a ton of great reviews. I still loved it. Just the heaviness of it. It's so hard to believe that the band that we played We Kill Everything had musically how they had progressed, to Bloody Pit of Horror. And then, of course, we lose Corey Smoot. Ugh. But we get the cousin, Brett Purgerson, and Battle Maximus. And I've said this before. When I first listened to it, I liked it, but I thought, man, I don't know. And it's such a weird feeling. I can't tell you. Obviously, anytime Gwar's putting out a new album, I'm just bouncing off the fucking walls. And I liked it, but I don't know what I was expecting. But the more and more I listen to that record, it is, I think, their heaviest album. I really do. Even heavier than Bloody Pit of Horror and Beyond Hell. And it's in that order. Battle Maximus being heaviest, then Bloody Pit of Horror, and then Beyond Hell. And his lead guitar work on there is just fucking incredible. On the instrumental, the title track, Battle Maximus, Triumph of the Pig Children, They Swallowed the Sun. Oh my god, him and fucking Ballsack just fucking kill it on those songs. And it grew on me, and then I'm like, I love this fucking album, right? I know what you're saying. Oh, you're just being a fucking fanboy. It's your band. Can't say anything bad about them. Yeah, I can. I said We Kill Everything ain't that great. And Ragnarok, kind of a cool album, but I wasn't crazy about it. Carnival of Chaos, same thing, but it has Gonna Kill You, the greatest ballad of all time. It's a ballad. It is too, Penelope. You know what? Get out, skank. But for the purpose of this show here, those 5 albums alone, to me, Scumdogs of the Universe, America Must Be Destroyed, Beyond Hell, Bloody Pit of Horror, and Battle Maximus, they are way underrated. And the variety of songs, and I'm just going by those 5 albums, that you get from them. You know, The Ultimate Bohab, Eighth Lock, that heavy-ass guitar riff, and the video, kind of a dark video. I didn't even mention Lust in Space, the album. Let Us Slay. What a fucking great riff that is. America Must Be Destroyed. Cracking the Egg. Have You Seen Me? Rock and Roll Never Felt So Good. America Must Be Destroyed. The Solomonizer. That's what I'm saying. Like, the songs are more memorable to me than Slayer. And people would say, well, that's because you're a fan of fucking Gwar. Of course you're going to say that. But really, listen to all the albums from Slayer and listen to all the albums from Gwar. How many more songs are you going to remember from Slayer than Gwar? You're not. That's just my opinion. But once again, I'm not saying Slayer sucks. They are a legendary band, okay? And I'm telling you, this is like by a hair, I'm saying. And it's not even a battle of the bands. I'm just saying, Gwar slightly overrated, and Gwar criminally underrated. And this is to the people that just think about the goofy lyrics and the crazy stage shows. Take time to listen to some of their music. A lot of it is complex and technical, and not everybody can play it. It's that simple. So there you go. Underrated, overrated versus underrated on a hump day. And I hope, if you're lucky, you get some humping today. Maybe. Alright, you know how I do this. Take it easy, and if it's easy, take it twice. I'm out.